TrudyBeerman.com, host of Debt Free Wealth Radio. I'm going to do something brave here. I'm going to take on the great Dave Ramsey, for whom I have absolute respect, but every now and again a different opinion. So I saw some posts that appeared on Fox Business. Dave Ramsey had 2 questions posted to him that he responded to, and I'm going to make 2 different videos so that I can break them up. So the first one was, it reads, "Dear Dave, we've got our starter emergency fund in place and we've paid off the last of our debt. Currently we rent an apartment, but my wife really wants us to buy a house now. She also wants us to use a 30-year 100% finance plan and says this wouldn't cost any more than we're paying in rent. I disagree with her idea and she's upset with me. How can I make her see this is a bad plan?" So Dave responds to Alan, "Dear Alan, I think she knows deep down this isn't a good plan. She's found something she really likes and she's mad because you're not going along with the idea. It's called house fever. When you buy a home with nothing down and little to no money in the bank, you're inviting Murphy and his cousins, broke, desperate, and stupid, to move in with you. In other words, you'll find yourselves in a mess because you didn't have the maturity and wisdom to wait until you had your fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses in place, plus a 20% down payment saved up for a house. The idea that you save money because your house payment is the same or even a little less than your rent is a myth. It costs more to own a home, period. As a homeowner, you're exposed to all kinds of things you'll never have to worry about as a renter. We all have times when we get excited by something we want and we do things we shouldn't. I've done it and I'll bet you have too. But in situations like this, you've got to sit down and talk things out. I'm not sure how to get your wife to realize this or to act more mature, but I do know that people who charge into things of this magnitude without thinking are the very ones who end up in my office for financial counseling or filing bankruptcy." Okay, nothing wrong with his answer at all. It's an absolute valid answer. You know, I don't know that he knows Alan beyond what Alan has stated here, nor do I. If this question were posed to me, I would have given a slightly different answer. And you don't have to agree with me any more than I have to agree with the incredibly wonderful and man I respect, Dave Ramsey. So here is the thing. First of all, I have my real estate broker's license. Not that that really makes a difference because honestly, I'm not going to be able to make a sale to this person anyway. So let's go. Now they have their starter emergency fund in place, so they've got that. They're out of debt and they are renting an apartment. And apparently whatever it is they are going to pay on the house is the same as rent. Here is my take on this, guys. We have to live somewhere. We have to live somewhere. And when you rent a home, there is a lack of stability that comes with that. I mean, my daughter moves almost every year. She's been in places that she really likes, but they need the place for whatever reason, and she has to relocate, move her kids from school, pack up. It's a headache. So there's a lack of stability when you rent, and there's always that unknown that comes every single time you move. When you own your home, you have some stability. There is no need to keep moving and packing, and there's a lot of costs that are associated with constantly packing and relocating. And a lot of times there's a whole lot of inconveniences because you're further away from your job or you're further away from your family, whatever the case may be. These are things that come with constantly moving, and constantly moving is, you know, a factor of life when you are a renter instead of a homeowner. The other thing is that, like I said, you have to live somewhere. If where they're going to own is the same as their rental, then as far as their cash flow situation goes, there's really not much difference. If in fact what's written here is that what they're going to pay in rent is really no different than what they're going to pay in a mortgage. Cash flow for cash flow, there really is not much of a difference in experience there. The other thing too is that when you rent, you usually have to pay first, last, and security. There's always an amount of money that you put up front, and a lot of times those landlords try very hard not to have to give you your deposit back. So there's going to be some amount of money that's poof gone through the window, never to be returned. And there are some tenants that endure less than wonderful experiences because they have horrible landlords that do not take care of the things they need to, and a lot of them end up, for the sake of their own comfort, spending the money anyway. So maybe if the washer dryer doesn't work, they're off to the laundromat because the landlord didn't replace it. When it's your own home and you take the time to put things in order the way you like it, that is an investment, or that's an expense that enhances your lifestyle and your experience of your lifestyle versus the rental situation. Again, my daughter who rents, she was in an apartment that once inside the apartment, and she was locked in with her lease, the place had a roach infestation. She complained, but the land, there was a quadruplex, so there was 4 units, and she was even prepared to pay the pest control herself. The pest control people would not do the service because she was a tenant. They needed permission from the landlord. Oh, what a headache, which she never got. And even if she were to get it, they pointed out with the other units untreated, it really wouldn't make a difference. So once again, when you own your own home, when you take care of those expenses that Dave referred to here, about the expenses that you would probably not have to worry about if you're a renter. Yeah, there's some, but there's some that you're going to have to worry about. You know, if the toilet breaks, it's still your responsibility to fix it, because there are some normal wear and tear things. There are things that are going to happen that a tenant still has to be responsible for, and they're paying that money into a home they don't own. The other thing is that this deal of 100% financing plan. Now, yes. Today, it's, you know, the banks are revisiting the idea of encouraging you to have that big down payment and all that. And in a lot of ways, when you have more skin in the game and have some equity in the home, it is a more ideal situation. But here's the thing. What the recession taught us, and the number of foreclosures that happened in the recession, is that it is harder for you to get kicked out of a home that you own, even if you're missing a couple payments. When you miss one single payment on your rent, they're ready to kick you out within days. Whereas if you did own that home, whatever financial strategy you got into it, if you're unable to, if you miss a payment here or there, you can juggle your cash flow a lot better than if you are renting. The other thing is that either way, it's gonna be a knock on you, on your financial records, because if you are late with your rent, it's going to show up on your credit. If you're late with your mortgage, it's going to show up on your credit. But if you're late with your mortgage, you have a little bit more leverage because you can catch back up. And even on the last day when you're standing on the step of the courts, you can still save your home. The courts will always give you that opportunity if you can come up with the necessary funds. So in a lot of ways, being in a home you own is still a better deal than being in a rental. And especially if the cost of that home is no different than being in a rental, then cash flow wise is really not anything different. So I would have advised to be very cautious about selecting that home, but I would have personally, I mean, everything has to be weighed. I don't know these people beyond this note here, but I wouldn't just, you know, say no, don't go for it. We all need somewhere to live. So that's my take on this particular situation. I'll come back on the next question which was posted here.